Not everybody has the ability to focus on the game for 10 hours a day, but throwing it up on a second monitor and AFKing while you get some work done is a great way to make some passive GP or gain some XP. And with that in mind, welcome to AFKing 9 to 5. Fellas, welcome back. Today we're continuing on in Varlamore, but not with the prayer method, at least in this episode. For this one, we're actually going to be checking out house robberies. This one is interesting for a lot of reasons. It has what I'd call a prep phase. This is just gathering the house keys, and then the actual AFK method, which is the robberies themselves. On top of that, the XP rates can scale a bit based on your level, and there's actually a little communal element to it, so it's a pretty unique and pretty fun activity. But before we start really diving into the activity, let's do a quick rundown on the requirements. For this one, you'll need access to Varlamore, so that makes the Children of the Sun quest a mandatory requirement, but the quest itself has no requirements, so this activity is open to every type of account build. Outside of the quest, the only requirement is level 50 thieving. You'll need this to 1. Steal house keys, and 2. Break into houses. Getting there is pretty straightforward. Just make your way to Varlamore, be it by Quetzal or teleport, and head over to the bazaar area. Everything is in this one region of the town, the wealthy citizens for keys, and even the houses we can break into. But we will get into all of that a little bit later, but for now, gear. Gear-wise, we're actually looking at 2 different setups. For our prep phase, we want to wear the full rogue's outfit. The rogue's outfit will double our keys when pickpocketing, so this will basically just let us get started with our burglaries a little bit faster. While pickpocketing for keys, we can also wear a dodgy necklace to have a 25% chance of not getting stunned, and on top of that, you can also use the Shadow Veil spell for another 15% on top of the dodgy necklace. I guess you could also say that having the hard tier of the Ardoin Diary completed would be a nice benefit. This is because it increases your pickpocket success rate by 10% anywhere in the game. The medium tier of the diary gives you this same 10% buff, but only in Ardoin. So if you've been waiting on completing the diary and want to try this method out, now might be a good time to get that one done. And if you have completed the diary, you don't actually need to wear the cape. This is just an overall buff to your account, but the cape does look cool and fits pretty well with the rogue's outfit. For part 2, the actual house robberies, it really doesn't matter what you wear. The rogue's outfit specifically buffs pickpocketing, and because we're essentially looting chests, you could wear whatever you want. The rogue's outfit won't be a benefit here. I do think the vibes from wearing the rogue's outfit is pretty nice though, but you will not get that double loot, so technically no benefit. You could wear full graceful here, but there really isn't enough running time for the set to be a benefit, so if you don't feel like wearing the rogue's outfit, you could just go crazy with your fashion skate. And again, since we aren't pickpocketing, dodgy necklaces, gloves of silence, and even Shadow Veil will have no benefits. The only real piece of gear I'm going to recommend for this part is that you wear a Staff of Fire and bring nature runes. I'm doing this just so I can elk any of the valuables I get between houses, but of course, if you aren't planning on being fully AFK when doing this method, any traditional in-between items can be brought as well. Think like dart tips and feathers, magic imbue runes, arrow tips and arrow shafts, anything you want to squeeze out a bit more XP between houses, but for me, I'm going to be chilling and just bringing my elks. I think that really covers everything we need to know gear-wise, so let's finally start gathering keys. I wasn't originally going to do a full day of gathering keys, but I've heard there's a very AFK method of getting them, and it's at this little pond right here. This is right next to the Coliseum, and you can actually fish keys with a big fishing net. So that's what I'm going to do. My goal is to get about 200 keys, I think, since that will cover about a full day of house robberies. So I'm going to gear up in my full angler and fish away. Well, I got a late start today. I only got about 5 hours of fishing, and I'm going to be honest here, I think that's for the best. In 5 hours, I got 132 house keys, so about 26 per hour. It is good to know that 1 hour of fishing would give you at least 1 hour of house robberies, but it's just really slow. You could probably get about 26 keys in, 5 minutes of pickpocketing, so that is definitely going to be considerably faster for a little bit more clicking. But to just not completely ignore this method, fishing here gives you keys, but also a small amount of random items like broken glass, big fishing nets, and caskets. I dropped all the glass and nets, but I did open all the caskets. The loot table of these caskets is interesting. For me, I decided banking the gems was probably not worth it, so I pretty much just dropped everything that wasn't crystal key pieces or coins. I ended my 5 hours with 23k in cash, an easy clue and a hard clue, as well as 2.5 crystal keys, so just a bunch of random loot, but I'll take it, I guess. The one really nice thing about this is that the AFK time is incredible. Fishing here is about 5 minutes of AFK with an empty inventory, with some of them even getting closer to 6 minutes, which is very nice. But outside of getting keys, fishing here is really not worth the time investment. I could simply pickpocket for less than an hour and get the same amount of keys, and in 5 hours, I've gained only 8,702 fishing XP. So really not that great. With my fishing time done, I still don't have enough keys to get through a full day of robberies, so I guess I'll just go pickpocket for about an hour tonight on mobile while I watch Wicked Tuna. I have no idea why I randomly started watching this show, but I'm hooked. Do you get it? Tuna, hooked, fishing? Yeah, maybe comedy is not for me. But after I do my hour tonight, we should be good to go by tomorrow. Pickpocketing wealthy citizens is not AFK. It's kind of just tracking your mouse over them and spam clicking, or in my case, just spam tapping on mobile. I'm not going to do a crazy amount. I'll probably just round my keys up to about 200, and then we can lock in tomorrow for some house robberies. Okay, it is the next day. I did a bit of pickpocketing, I got my remaining keys, and I did learn a little bit about wealthy citizens, so I figured I'd share. Wealthy citizens are actually a very good training method. I think I was getting about 200k XP an hour, which is really good. I didn't do like a large amount, so I can't give you like an accurate XP per hour, but 200k for an hour is crazy. Wealthy citizens kind of stand out as a pickpocketing method because they have a unique mechanic that you can take advantage of. They really easily get distracted. Every 90 seconds or so, one of these street urchins will randomly distract them, and you're now 1, auto pickpocketing, and 2, have a 100% success rate for about 20 seconds. You could, in theory, do this as an AFK method by only pickpocketing them when they're distracted, and I'm kind of tempted to see what the XP would look like over 8 hours, but I really only needed a few keys for this video, so I just spam clicked for about 30 minutes and rounded my keys up to 200, meaning I'm good to go. Good morning, it is house robbery day. Today I'm going to be sneaking around and stealing valuables for 8 hours. I am level 99 thieving, so the wiki says I'm expected to get about 105k XP per hour, so we'll see how that goes. I'm almost 10,000% sure I won't be getting that much, but I'll try my best. Location-wise, we're in the same area today, but now we have only 3 targets, since only 3 houses can be stolen from, and that's where the wealthy citizens live. I do think I should mention that I'm playing on RuneLite, so of course there's a plugin to make this even more AFK. If you want to use it yourself, it's called House Thieving Varlamore on the plugin hub, and the setup is pretty straightforward. This is how I have it set up, but even with the bonus chest notification, I'm expecting to loot maybe 50% of them, but I don't really have a way to tell, so we'll see at the end of the day. And I think that's enough yapping. It's time to plunder. I'll see you all in 8 hours. Okay, not bad. It's very cool to have a thieving activity that is not just spam clicking and allows me to kind of look away and lock into something else for a bit. The process for this one is very simple. Find the house with the wealthy citizen leaving. Usually there's an arrow, and the plugin will also help you a lot with a green door. Enter the house, loot the chest until the wealthy citizen comes back, and then make a break for the window and head to the next one. That's all there is to it. My big takeaway from the day is that this activity becomes as easy as possible if you just turn on your area sounds. These street urchins are so incredibly clutch and blow a whistle, which makes this sound. And as soon as you hear that, it's time to click the window and get the hell out of there. I would actually be paying 0 attention to my game, but as soon as I hear this sound, I lock in, click the red square, and I'm out as soon as humanly possible. It took a little bit to get acclimated to, but once I did, it was incredibly smooth. There are a bunch of different sounds that are incredibly important, and once you hear them a few times, your brain kind of clues in that like, oh, this is when I click, this is when I click. So I'll just play a few of them right now. And even though I was clued into these sounds and I was trying my best to not get caught, throughout the day, I got kicked out about 7 times. This was just from being a little bit too AFK or still getting used to listening for the whistle, but overall, I'd say it's a pretty successful day. And now it's time to talk about everyone's favorite thing, the numbers. AFK wise, the numbers are okay. I want to better explain an hour in these videos because sometimes I think just showing the time between clicks doesn't really explain how AFK something is. And the word AFK in RuneScape has always been weird. Everybody has a different definition for it. But for this one, I'm going to look at an hour perspective so it can make a little bit more sense. I want to include an active time in comparison to an AFK time. I think I'm going to be super generous on the active time. So for this one, we'll consider the active time to be whenever I can see my mouse on the screen. This will typically only be when I'm moving houses or clicking on new chests. And even though you can basically one click to the next house, we'll include the entire duration in the active time because you can elk or fletch or whatever you want during this time. And on the AFK side, we'll only include times where my mouse is completely off the screen. This is basically only when I'm looting a chest. To make this as charitable as possible, I'm going to start my timer when I'm running to a house, and I'll end when I'm leaving a house and arriving at the next one. Our example is 1 hour of gameplay, and the numbers come out like this. Roughly 46 minutes of our hour is AFK time, and 14 minutes of active play. This makes the activity 76% AFK and 24% active. I'm rounding two continuous numbers. I'm rounding the AFK time down, even though I should round it up, and I'm rounding the active time up, even though I should round it down. This is purely for simplicity's sake and being as charitable as possible on the active time. And you know what? Pie graph for my visual enjoyers out there. And I'm jumping in from the editing room. I talk about all these numbers in this video, and I didn't talk about the one number most people probably want to hear. The total number comes out to be about 18.5 house keys used per hour. And this is a total of 148 for the day. And now throw it back to old me to talk about the XP. The XP for this one was okay. I believe my projected XP rate was 105k per hour, and my realistic XP rate was that I got 92.6k per hour at level 99. If we use the wiki's expected rates and adjust my output for other XP level rates, you would expect to get these XP rates per hour at these level ranges if you had a similar activity level. And honestly, I think these are pretty fine. You're looking at like a 2-to-1 or 2.5-to-1 rate compared to pickpocketing, so this could be somewhat viable for people who just don't want to do a ton of spam clicking or pyramid plunder. Overall, it's fairly obvious that the XP does not compete with pickpocketing or even pyramid plunder, but having an AFK alternative to thieving is super nice. Thieving has always been a weird skill when classifying on if it's AFK or not. Typically, thieving is just done by holding your mouse in the air in your right hand and spam clicking for hours on end. Some people consider that AFK because you don't have to pay attention to the game, while others don't because you're actively clicking literally every second. So house robberies, good in between, thumbs up emoji. AFKing this is super doable, but the big thing that puts me off doing another day is how important the bonus chest is. Throughout the day, a lot of the time the bonus chest would line up nicely when I needed to click again, but if it didn't, I really didn't go out of my way to click on it. For me, a standard loot chest was 45 XP, but that first loot of the bonus chest was always 630 XP. So there is a huge difference over a long period of time by making sure you loot that chest. So if you are AFKing and you've got your feet kicked up, just make sure you click that chest when you can. Throughout the day, I also got a token amount of magic XP from elking, crafting XP from breaking bone statuettes, and I even got some combat XP by accidentally slaughtering a poor unsuspecting imp. But outside of XP, you actually make a little bit of GP for the day as well. This is because you can trade your valuables into Oriana right next to the bank. These typically trade in for 55 coins, but if you have the Gladiator rank in the Coliseum, you will get 65 coins each. I do have that rank unlocked, so I'll show my loot versus the expected amount if you don't have it underneath it. In 8 hours, I obtained 16,219 valuables, as well as 72k in cash from elking, and this is after removing the 11k cost of 117 nature runes, as well as 7,250 bone shards, and these bone shards would come out to be a banked 36k prayer XP, or 43.5k with Sunfire wines. The valuables traded in for just over 1 mil and came out to be about 130k profit per hour just from valuables alone. If I didn't have the Gladiator rank, this would come out to 892k or about 111k GP per hour. So with these numbers in mind, I'll give you a comparison of pickpocketing Arty Knights at level 55, which would come out to be about 100k GP per hour. So the GP here is pretty standard, not that great. Even at 99, I'm not really competing with a level 55 method. So the GP here is not that great, even in comparison to pickpocketing Arty Knights at level 55. And that GP rate does include the Rogue's outfit doubling your loot, but still, there's a little bit of money. It's not fantastic, but it's an AFK thieving method overall. And to really wrap this video up, these are never meant to tell you if you should or should not do an activity. The whole goal is just to try something out, lay out the numbers, and let you make the decision yourself. If you really value that AFK time, this is a great alternative to other thieving methods. But for me, I think the recommendation is that this is probably an okay spot between 50 and 80 thieving. But after that, you're probably better using your AFK time somewhere else and just doing a bit of mindless spam clicking to wrap up 91 for the diary or even pushing for 99. And that's Varlamore House Robberies. Thank you to the big fellas, Snacks, DansSmeg'ead, LokiFM, and the newest big fella, Matthew Wyatt, as well as the fellas, Jujo, iTalk, Halal Platter, Skye, Otomachi, SpookyBetts, Chris Dungey, Calian Underwood, and Jacob McDonald. Next episode, I do want to try out the prayer method, but holy shit, I was doing the math on it and a full day seems super expensive. So let me try and figure that one out and we'll get an episode on it, although it might not be the full 8 hours because I'm broke. On top of that, aerial fishing, tithe farm, and hopefully Perilous Moons videos coming soon. I'm cooking some stuff up, just give me some time over here. And yeah, I've really got nothing left to say, so I'll see you in the next one.